Dr. Masialeti. It's a great pleasure to have you this time around and just making time to join us and empty some of your knowledge to some of us who are still trying to gain our footing and even escalate in the tech industry. I really appreciate the fact that you've made this time from all the schedules and busy tasks that you have to take care of. But just kickstart with what are the things that you think made you, when you look back in retrospection, made you to get where you are today? If you can break that down for us and just be able to mold it in such a way that we can pick up those skills that are relevant, especially for the time we are in, and some of the lessons that you think we should carry on as we progress.
I think, that's a very loaded question. So I think I'll start it this way. I'm a believer, and whether you're a believer or not, I think there's something that you're good at. There's something that you can be good at. So realizing that purpose and drive and understanding what your talents are is very, very important. So I think earlier on, I noticed that I was more inclined to sciences. Even though I'll do better at social sciences, but the natural sciences, I was more inclined to natural sciences. Right. I was very curious to understand technology. I was always puzzled at how things worked together with regard to technology. And I think that level of passion in terms of the drive to understand how things work together, how they come together, how people interact with them, how they can be useful in business, kind of allowed me to investigate further. So I think the first thing is that whatever you're doing, passion is very important. You need to be very passionate about what you're doing. And if you're very passionate about what you're doing, you're going to go an extra mile. So even if you're employed, I've seen that those that are very passionate, they are able to go way and above, compared to the people that are not passionate about what they're doing. So I think passion is very important. And I think I saw that, and even now I see that because of the passion, the interest and the fire that it creates within me, it kind of allows me to try to learn a lot more. As the technologies are changing, you always want to try to learn and upgrade and do other extra things. The other thing is that the role of mentors and coaches, I think in an African context,
yes,
sometimes we do, it may be African context, meaning maybe you're in Africa or even you're in other countries. Sometimes I think we underestimate the role of mentors and coaches in your professional life.
That's right.
I've been blessed to have met some great mentors, and I continue to have mentors. I think when you've got a mentor, the mentor provides you with an opportunity to skip certain stages in your development pathway.
That's right.
And they give you a bit of light ahead in terms of which direction you need to go into. So as an example, if you're interested in networking and you find a good mentor like John will tell you that do some CCNA stuff. Instead of you wasting time to do something else.
Right.
Do CCNA stuff as part of your foundation, right? So mentors helps you a lot, and I think I've seen a great benefit from having a lot of mentors from early on in my career. When I was in my first year, I met a mentor who taught me about professional certifications. I didn't even know there were professional certifications in IT. I knew I just thought when you get computer science degree, then you're done. But I learned about certifications and the importance of certifications and why you need to have certifications. And I started pursuing some certifications. So I think the role of mentors is very critical to your development. So that's the second one. I think the third one is that you need to take advantage of opportunities presented in the marketplace. Sometimes we want to dream of this greater opportunity or these greener pastures, and we overlook what is just in front of us, right? If you're working with people, make sure you do your best. Some of the opportunities that will come will come from the people you're working with. They'll
That's
recommend
right.
you, they'll say great things about you. They will have a good, you have a good name because of your work ethics and how you are able to perform. So, do the best in the small things you've been given. And when bigger things are given to you, you'll be ready for them. So I think we need to take advantage of current opportunity in front of us. And I think I learned on that taking advantage of those opportunities
Yes.
incrementally over time, it was able to allow me to learn more skills, create a better network, have a good name within the organization I worked at the time, and
Yes.
those became good recommenders for me. So I think take advantage of what is in front of you. Do not despise humble beginnings. Whatever is
Okay.
in front of you, do the best. And when bigger things come, you'll be ready for them.
Great.
The other one, and I might say maybe the last point on this specific question, John, is
Okay.
that sometimes we want to prepare for an opportunity. When the opportunity comes, at that time it's late. Okay,
Great.
it's very late
Great.
at that time. So I think you always need to be ahead of the game to make sure
Yes.
that you prepare way in advance. So if you've been in a technical position for some time and you want to
Hmm.
pivot to being an IT manager or an IT director or a CIO, you don't need to wait until there is an opportunity to be an IT manager for you to start
Wow.
uh, you know uh, preparing yourself, having the skills, or making sure you've got a good toolbox for you to be successful. So it's very important that the moment you make a decision that, for instance, you want to be a CIO or a director of IT or IT manager, you start
Yes.
asking yourselves questions like, if I have to be a very successful IT manager or CIO, what does it take? What are the skills I need to have? Look at the job descriptions in terms of what they
Yes.
look at. You need to be good at leadership. As an example, you need to know budgeting. You need to know all these other
Hmm.
business type of skills and people management, and then identify someone whom you think is a very successful IT manager or director. Approach
Yes.
them if you can be they can be your mentor. Most of the people are very open to being mentors. There are some, who've got issues, but most of the people, the moment you ask the question, and as long as you're serious, they're able to invest in you. And then you start preparing. So when you start preparing, when an opportunity comes, you'll be ready. When you go and attend interviews, you'll be speaking like you're a CIO, you'll be speaking like an IT manager,
You're right.
and an
You're right.
opportunity can be given to you. So I think that's
Hmm.
kind of the way I would summarize the key points, John, there in terms of passion and being ambitious about what you want to do, understanding your purpose, the role of mentors, taking advantage of anything in front of you, your current opportunity, making sure that you prepare for the next position before it
Correct.
comes. Yeah.
Correct. Well, I'm just thinking to myself that we do not seem to excel without mentors, like you're saying. And I took time to look at your profile. You were IT superintendent at Barrick Gold. You moved on to become the leader of the IT department. You went on into service delivery management, and you were heading the department. Are you saying this is all achievable simply because there was somebody to point you to say, this is how you do it, this is where you go? And if it is so, what are some of the things that you think are the easiest way to approach people for mentorship? I see people struggle when it comes to reaching out to people. They could be seeing you as a leader in the industry, but they simply find it hard. Did you use LinkedIn? Did you find somebody within your organization? Was there a way that you could actually say, this is the easiest way you can reach out to somebody? I've heard people saying, if you reach out to me with a small project to say, hey, look, I've been doing this, and that project has something to do with what I do, I could take interest and maybe coach you. But maybe others are not so much passionate. And like you're saying, you need to have the passion. What have been your experiences in that space?
Yeah, I think no, that's a very good question, John. That's a very good question. So, I've benefited from mentors, from from the where to go, have had mentors at different stages in my career. And even now, I've got mentors for other different things. You see, there's that. If you go on Google Scholar, it says we ride on the shoulders of giants, right? So, no one, well, there's some who can claim that they've made themselves, but I think me, I'm very appreciative of my mentors throughout different stages of my career. I think the thing is that, as I said, you need to understand and sometimes it's not very clear even within yourself in terms of what your purpose is, what your drive is, what you want. So we are talking about IT, right? Usually when you graduate or with your associate degree or diploma and you enter the industry, sometimes you're not sure whether you want to do networking, you want to be in software development, or you want to do in server administration, cloud engineering, AI. Like you are really not sure.
Yes.
And so the first year of the job from college, sometimes for the majority of the students, I've had an opportunity to mentor through. They are quite confused in understanding which area, and they don't want to fail, right? They want to be in an area where they are going to do very well. So I think you first of all, you need to I would suggest that you need to make sure that you're passionate. Just be passionate about the field, be passionate about IT. And you see, if you meet someone who is passionate and someone who is not passionate, it's very easy to tell. So be passionate, love your career. And as you approach people, if you're passionate, the type of questions you're going to ask, if they give you small assignments, the amount of research work that you're going to do to demonstrate that you're serious. Because sitting on the other side, most of the mentors don't, they are very busy people. The most successful mentors are very busy people, someone joked to say, God just gives work to those that are busy already. If you're busy, you'll be given more busy work. They are very busy. The excellent mentors are usually very busy, right? So they want to work with people who are serious, people who are passionate, people who are self-driven, and people that will be able to research. If they give them an assignment or follow up, they are able to follow up. So there's nothing wrong in you reaching out to someone and saying, look, I'm passionate about IT. I'm confused in which direction I should go to. Would you spare a few minutes so that we can have a conversation, so that I just have a good understanding of like which direction I should go to. Most of the people will be open, there are some people who will not be, maybe that time doesn't work with them. It's okay, don't give up, so if you're passionate, if one gives up, if one is not willing to mentor you, you go to another one, right?
That's right.
Be persistent. I think my point is being persistent. I remember reaching out to quite a number of people in my career, and some people were not willing, and I don't want to judge them. Maybe they were so busy and that time didn't allow. But there are some people who were very, very willing to help. And I don't mean to be biased, but a good number of people in IT in the United States, and maybe that's my bias, in Canada, they seem to be very open. They were very positive, like very open to to connect and to mentor you, to spend some time so that they can invest in you. And also I had mentors from South Africa, mentors from Australia, from India, from Canada, and from the United States. I think most of my mentors came from this. And I had a local mentor as well, some local mentors within Zambia, Michael Nabutali being one of them. Is a CCIE, a well-known guy, very positive guy. And because of being passionate, like if you're passionate, you're persistent, you're asking questions, and if you don't know, you're able to express that you don't know, you need some help. They were very willing to have that conversation with me. They were very willing to help me out. There's some people said no. So I think you need to be passionate. You need to persist. If someone says no, go to another one and enlarge your territory as well.
Mhm.
Don't be restricted to the people in your country. Check in SADC, check across the world. Attend webinars. When you attend the webinars,
Yes.
you'll be able to meet people and you can reach out to them, connect to them on LinkedIn after the webinar or conference. Reach out to them, ask the questions. Before you ask the questions, do your own research. Don't
That's
go
right.
there as well being very blank, like where you've not even searched Google,
You're right. You're
you are
right.
asking questions which Google can even help you with. Demonstrate that you've done some work beforehand,
Yes.
and most of the mentors are willing. If you've got a project, be open to ask for some ideas. And most of the people, generally, my experience was that they were willing. For those that were not willing, it's either they were busy, it wasn't
Mhm.
good timing, but sometimes it wasn't a good fit. There are some mentors where it will not be a good fit in terms of personality wise. That is
Yes.
okay, it might not work. And then the others where personality wise you'll be able to gel in and work together, and if you can find those, work with them. The other thing also you need to understand is that the mentors that you have when you start might be different when you move in the following year, because when you mature after
Yes.
1 year, you may need to upgrade your mentors as well. That is also okay. When you start moving to leadership, you may need to look for other mentors. And also you need to understand that sometimes you've got coaches and you've got mentors.
Mm.
Mentors usually, they'll assist you at no fee. For coaches,
Yes.
you may need to invest in terms of some money to get their time to help you with some stuff.
Correct.
So those investments are very important, and I think they help in increasing your network and helping you in terms of your career growth. I don't know if that
Wow.
answers the question, John, or if there's anyone who has got any question on this
So far.
specific topic.
Not sure if anybody has a question. Doesn't look like. I just wanted to come to this spot. You spoke about Magnum Tally, one of the few CCIs. There could be 2 or 3 CCIs in the country. It's
In
really,
Zambia, yeah.
you're right. You're right. So it's really something that begs for the question: should we go technical throughout a career, or should we branch into management? And what are the perks, or what are the advantages? What has been your
Yeah.
experience in this space?
Yeah, so no, that's a very good question. And I think all of us at one stage will be confronted with that type of a question, whether we should remain on the tech side or we should move to the management side. And, it's not black and white. But I think at some stage, I was talking about, that self-discovery and understanding your strengths and weaknesses and where you believe you can make the biggest difference.
Hmm.
And, certain careers, the way they look before you get married and after you get married and you start having kids, it's different, right?
Hmm.
When I started my career, I used to do some software development. I liked, doing a bit of doing some coding and all that, And
Yes.
then, when kids started coming into the picture, when you're with kids, your wife, it's pretty tough to start dreaming of code. So I was like, is this something? I'm not saying there's anything wrong,
Mhm.
I'm just saying, you're on a date, you're thinking on how to debug a program, So I was like, am I going to manage this? But I also looked at, let's say, my strengths. Over time, I'd held a lot of leadership positions, at church, in class, in certain professional environments, and I
Yes.
felt that I think I would make the most difference in providing leadership technology. And that attracted me to go in that specific direction in terms of the leadership.
Hmm.
But however, before I did that, I'd experienced a lot of tech work, and it's just a percentage that changes. If you're in tech, you cannot completely say you not do any tech, you just be a leader.
Correct.
Otherwise, your people might not listen to you. So it's just a percentage. So maybe you're going to do, 60% leadership, then 40% you do a bit of some tech work. So I think at some stage you need to make that decision, right? You need to make a decision if you're going to remain on the tech pathway. It is also very rewarding because you're going to deploy technologies, you're going to do a lot of great things in that space, and be a well-known expert on specific, topics, maybe be
That's
it
right.
AI, be it maybe it's voice, be it networking, network security, product security. You'll be known in the market, and you can get rewards like that in that specific direction. The only
Hmm.
thing you know is that maybe you might not be part of the decision making table, right? You might not be
That's right.
part of maybe Exco. So someone will make those decisions on your behalf, and you may need to implement. Unless if you're working in a consulting environment or you start up your own consulting firm where you're able to make those decisions and you're able to drive your own direction and providing those specific expertise. So that pathway is fine. And there are some people who are just inclined to go on that pathway and they do very well,
Yes.
beyond their 40s. I've worked with people who are in their 60s, they were still doing help desk and they were fine with it. They were
Mm.
excited about providing IT support, going underneath the desk. Not that there's anything wrong, but at 60, they're excited and they're fired up to do that. That is also okay. There is nothing wrong with that. Okay. But there are also some people who want to be IT managers. They want to manage
That's
other
right.
people. They want to provide leadership. They want to be involved in the organization ecosystem. They want
Yes.
to be part of Exco, being part of setting direction of the organization, making strategy, implementing strategy. They want to go on the leadership pathway. So if you're coming from a tech background and you want to go on that pathway,
Mhm.
there's a lot of work you need to do, because naturally sometimes from the tech background, we don't learn a lot about deep management or deep leadership or
Yes.
finance, marketing, organization behavior. Those are not the topics we cover in most of the traditional computer science or IT programs. So
You're
if
right.
you're going on the other pathway in terms of the management pathway, you need to invest in yourself in terms of to get those soft skills. You need to invest yourself in communication skills. You need to do maybe an MBA, for example, so that you've got a good
Yes.
appreciation of the different parts of the organization, the way they run, and so that you can be an effective contributor when you're making strategy and setting direction for your organization. And you need to acknowledge that because of taking that pathway, you're not going to be on top of the tech field through and
Uh-huh.
through. And so you may find yourself that, you're going to have a lot of gaps. You are going to know a lot about everything, but you may not be a subject matter expert in
I
one.
see.
And when you're coming from a tech field, that creates a level of guiltness in you where you feel like you're losing
Is that
track
a
of what
disadvantage?
you're trying to. No, it's not a disadvantage. It's not a disadvantage. I think it's not a disadvantage. It makes you to be a bit better leader because leadership is voice. It's about providing direction, vision, right? Casting a vision and influencing others. And you need to depend on others. So I think it
Correct.
helps you to start depending on others for you to be successful. And depending on others, it forces you to empower others because you're not going to have time to learn deep Python for
Yeah.
AI programming. So you'll be forced to sponsor one of your team members to do that course. So I think it forces you to depend on others and invest in others so that you can have the best team that you want to deliver on business objectives.
Great. Great. When I was looking at your bio, something caught my attention. I was actually chatting with a friend to say, here you are, you've got 2 doctorates, am I right? You've got 2
Yes, I've
doctorates.
got double doctorates from,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
you are CISSP certified, you are ITIL certified, and I'm looking at you're combining these 2 worlds. This feels like this person has a path already carved out for them. But what is really driving them? What is their inspiration behind this? Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate that goes on regarding certifications. Let me start, I think, the conversation from a degree versus certifications, right?
Correct.
So
Yes.
There are three major schools of thoughts regarding our careers, right? There's some people, in fact, now they've become four schools of thoughts that I've come across.
Okay.
There's a school of thought which is gaining a lot of momentum
Hmm.
called a skills-based thought, where some people believe
Yes.
that you just need to attend skills. You don't even need to do certifications.
Correct.
Just know the skills, and you'll be able to practice IT, and people should just employ you based on your skills. So if you want a network engineer and you apply, they
Yes.
just need to test whether, are you able to do routing and switching? Here is a switch, here is a router. Are you able to configure? If it's working, then they employ you. So there's this extreme end. You don't even need to do certifications. There's
I've heard
this
about that.
extreme end, right? And then there's also an extreme end where people believe that, for you to work in IT, you need to get a bachelor's degree. And, you shouldn't do any certifications or anything. A degree is enough. And it's another extreme end. Okay. Then there's another school of thought that for you to work in IT, you should just do certifications. About doing a degree or anything, just certifications are alone.
Correct.
I think I belong to a school of thought that you need to have a balance of both. And I strongly believe that you need to have your bachelor's degree or your diploma. That's very important. I think it gives you an introduction to many concepts. You have a broader understanding of the field. I think that is important. And then and then you need to also do certifications, because
Okay.
as many of us know on this forum, certifications gives you very specialized knowledge on that technology in terms of how you should do it. Like you cannot just come from doing your bachelor's degree or a diploma, and they give you a switch, even if you pass with flying colors in
Yes.
networking technologies, and they expect you to know how to configure it to best practice. Like, it won't happen. You know the concepts. That's why you need to do a certification, because certification, as John, you're better than me in this area. Someone will be trained on what are the best practices of configuring, the switch. They will have
That's
the
right.
commands, they will learn the command structure, what is the most secure way of doing it. They will learn the structure for that technology on how to do it. So, even though they understand the different, routing configurations, they'll see it in practice and how you can do it in a secure way on that technology. And the way probably you may do it on a Cisco equipment will be different from the way you do it on on HP or on any other. So
That's right.
I think it's critical that the combination should happen. Now, people may have different pathways. Some people may start from high school, they do certifications, right?
Yes.
And as they do certifications for them to get into employment, we still need to encourage those people to do, bachelor degrees. I think it will give them that overview. And I think we are seeing a lot of universities coming up with programs where if you've done your CCNA, you've done your MCSE and any of these certifications,
Yes.
they'll give you credits. They'll give you certain exemptions, so that you can only do the other subjects. So I belong to a school of thought that you need to have both. And that's why I've endeavored in my career to make sure that, when we had MCITP, I make sure I did my
Yes.
MCITP, and do both professional certifications and also do academia. And what's so interesting about professional certifications that I learned is that sometimes the things we learn in academia might be way behind. The
Correct.
material is not as updated as the way it is with certifications. Certifications, they've got a lot of money. They invest a lot in research and development, and they're always updating their material. Their material is like the latest and greatest on the market. So
That's right.
if someone did a bachelor's degree and they have not been doing certifications, you see a gap. And that's why for me, when I'm interviewing people, and
I was about to
these
ask.
are my personal views, these are my personal views. My
Yes.
disclaimer, they do not represent the organization that I work for. These are my
Yes.
personal views. I've sat in more than 100 interviews, interviewing, recruiting, people across the
Yes.
world. Back when I was in Zambia, in the United States, because I was managing a team of more than 80 people as a global service delivery manager. So we used to do a lot of recruitment. And in recruiting, I found that if someone, for instance, they have done their associate degree or diploma, they've done their bachelor's degree, and they've done professional certifications,
Yes.
their performance on tech interviews was very different, like the way they would perform. And the way they would approach certain questions, especially general questions,
Yes.
was totally different. So that is why I've done both, John. And also, you talked about doing the doctorate and again
Yes.
the other doctorate. You see, academia is also very interesting, as part of expanding your network, because I'm coming from industry, and there are not many people from industry that want to get fully involved with academia. So there's this huge debate that goes on to say, look, computer science, why should I even do a degree? I'm going to do some stuff that is outdated, and professors that will be teaching me, they're not in touch with industry. Everyone complains, but very few people make an effort to say, okay, I've got industry knowledge. Let me go and be a change maker in academia. But for me to join that group, I need to get a doctorate, because if you don't have a doctorate, your voice will not be heard in that community.
You're right.
So you've got your industry experience, you get your doctorate, and you go in that community, they'll listen to you, because you would talk their language when it comes to research, publications. You understand, their interest and what they're doing, and also you understand what industry offers, and therefore you can be a great contributor to that conversation. I belong to a specialized interest group. It's under Association of Computing Machinery. I don't know if most of you know this organization, but this organization has been around since the 1960s. It's one of the largest computing professional organization in the world. It's been around for many, many years. So it's got a specialized interest group made up of people that work to reform the computer science curriculum and the information systems curriculum. And they do a lot of, research. I came to learn that there's a lot of work that they do on how they should change the world curriculum. So you need to belong to that group, and for you to be listened to, you need to get a doctorate. So if more people in industry can get doctorates and be involved in associations like that, specialized interest group on computer science education, who have a lot of people from industry making their voice heard and shaping how that curriculum should be, instead of, most of us just complaining about how these universities are producing half-baked people that are not industry ready, So that's one of my passion. It's a passion that I have, and I like being involved with academia. I can see on this in this group in our forum, there are even some people who are my former students, or who are my students where I've taught, because I invited them. I like being involved, and the feedback I get is that being taught by someone from industry who is also a doctor and is in tune with theory is different from someone who is not
That's right.
Who is just in academia. I can tell you still need people that are in academia, because they're the ones who publish, they're the ones who do the research, they're the ones who push the envelope. And then we adopt that in industry, and then we continuously improve on that. So everyone is needed in this business. The researchers, that most of the technologies we are using, they were once sponsored as research, either by National Science Foundation in the US or under the Department of Defense. They were once research projects and, driven by some people in academia. And then when they matured as technologies, they moved over to industry, and then industry picked up the pace because they've got the money to continuously improve it. So you need both groups for us to be successful. And that's, for me, I think, the drive for doing, this doctorate. Of course, I only publicize that I'm doing another one PhD, but the truth is that I'm doing 2 PhDs concurrently at the moment, with the goal that by 2027, I think I'll have about 4, and then we can see what life holds for me. And I enjoy it. It's a hobby for me. It might not be a hobby for everyone, but it's a lot of work, and I think I enjoy it, to learn about how the field is changing from both sides.
I'd like to open up for questions just on that. Perhaps anybody has a question before I start asking you some very personal questions.
Sure. Go ahead.
I see your hand is up.
All right. Thank you so much.
So the question is, what is the best path? Cybersecurity background, and still deciding. What do you think would keep him on track for the next 10, 15 years? Good question.
Yeah, I think this applies to all fields, right? That question may apply to cybersecurity. It might apply to software development. It might apply to, databases. It's the nature of the beast in terms of our field. The chances are that when you finish your bachelor's degree, like knowing what you want, the percentage of people I've come across that say that I want to do networking, and after bachelor's degree, they just move into networking, is very small. And the reason is that I think you also need to allow yourself to have the freedom to explore, right? You might think you are good in networking, but in the actual fact, you can be a far better data scientist, that the world has ever seen, So even within cybersecurity, I think when you finish, explore the different parts, explore pen tests, work in a SOC as a cybersecurity analyst, try to do web security, product security, try to be part of a DevSecOps engagement, try to do governance, risk and compliance, try identity and access management. I think, try business continuity. I think try different things, and then you're going to see which one that you're more inclined to. Right. And you can try this even by doing internships. When you do internships, volunteer, don't be boxed in one area. So if you go and maybe you work in a SOC, volunteer yourself to work on, threat hunting as an example, on doing some forensics, volunteer in doing some of these things so that you can identify which area you're inclined to. Now, there are a lot of things that might force you to decide in an area. Number one, it might be the type of a job that will give you money. Maybe if money is your motivation, you might want to be a pen tester because there maybe the money is much better than being a SOC analyst, as an example. And also the market. You find that for governance, risk, and compliance, it's more competitive because you've got even people who've done accounts, who have done CISA, they're doing governance, risk, and compliance, and you'll be competing with that group of people. So maybe you don't want to go in that area, but there's nothing wrong in you knowing about it, because at the end of the day, even though you're going to specialize, you want to have a broader picture of your field, because one day you become a CISO, and when you become a CISO, you'll not just be looking at pen testers, or white hat hackers. You are going to be looking at the broader team, people that do governance, risk, and compliance, who look after mobile security. So you need to have an idea on what those people do. So and when you're in school, when you're doing internships or your first years after school, you've got that very rare opportunity to test these things. And you may test something and fail. It is okay. Find that maybe you're not good at doing pen tests. It is okay, right? But if you find it interesting, you excel, make sure you add a certification. There's offensive security. That's security, offensive security focused on Kali Linux in terms of
OSCP.
Yeah, some people even argue that it's better than the EC Council certifications. There's a lot of debate around that. But do it and make sure, if you find it interesting. So try multiple things and see which area where you aggravate towards mostly, where you are good at, and then pivot from there and look at the market and look at the broader market as well, or world market. Don't just look at your market in your country. The same can be said to people doing software development. Software development is very wide, like it's very, very wide, right? So maybe you want to be a back-end developer, front-end developer, you want to be a full stack developer, but is it more mobile applications? Is it web applications? Is it customizing ERPs, and which ERP? Is this SAP? Is it Oracle? Because people that customize Oracle and customize it might be different. So the chance that from your first degree there'll be a lot of things that will be very attractive to your eyes is very high. And try out. It's okay to make a mistake. Specialization is very good, but don't feel compelled to rush. Try these things, get to know the field, so that at the time when you move in a more senior role, you become a CISO, you become a security architect. When people from governance, risk, and compliance are talking, you'll be able to understand their language. So understand. I think it's important to kind of explore.
I appreciate that.
Everything in the field. And know the timing, because you don't want 6 years you're just exploring everything, because then you might not get full return on investment on your career. So maybe you put yourself the first 2 years, you are going to explore everything. Afterwards, you need to make that decision. You need to make that decision. And that's why you need to have good mentors, because then the mentors will be able to advise you and the coaches will help you. And then you can pivot maybe in one area if you want to go on the tech path. So you pivot in one area. But if you're in cybersecurity and want to be a CISO, you're going to be a generalist, right? It's more of a leadership path within cybersecurity. So in that case, you need to start working on soft skills, the same things, budgeting, those things we're talking about. And you need to start looking at programs in that space. Season is an example by ISACA. It will help you prepare for that. There's a CISO qualification by EC Council. You do qualifications like that. Those are going to kind of help you to prepare in that direction. I hope that helps in answering that question, Tapiwa. Does it help?
Very exhaustive. I think it should be muted, but it's very exhaustive. Yes. Excellent. Okay, got another question from Tenacious. Tenacious, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hi, Doc. Hi. I have maybe 2 or 3 questions. There might be 2. The first question I have, from your view to the industry and what you have seen, I know you have seen a lot now in the industry. Is it still making sense for someone to be a specialist? Because I see, like you gave an example of you had a mentor who was CCIE, but if you check CCIE on its own, it's no longer network. It's like shifting towards DevOps. Like if you see the CCIE, the new CCIE, the structure it is set up.
Yeah.
Is Cisco trying to move to say, no, you can't be a specialist. You have to know multiple technologies. The second question will be, from your understanding and what you've seen in the industry trends, I know you meet with big people up there, executives and stuff. What do you think could be, can you say, resource demanding path of IT? Like, where do you think is the biggest catch? This question is just for people who are starting, because I'm not going to shift my career. But I just want people who are young in the industry to get a picture.
No, Tanisha, these are great questions. And I count it a blessing. I know that meet big people, but I think I count it a blessing that I've had an opportunity to interact with some people in the industry. This question I think is also based on. I'll answer the first part of the question. I think the first part of the question, what I would say is that you've got specialization like the verticals, right? And then you've got the horizontal. So when you think about your career, when I think about the career, I think about the career in terms of verticals, the ones we are calling specialization, right? And you've got your horizontals that cuts across, right? So you've got horizontal skills. So I think what I'm seeing, tenacious, is that some of the things that we once saw to be verticals, a good portion of some of the parts of those verticals are becoming horizontals. So when I say horizontal, means it cuts across all the different specializations, right? So for example, I'll give you this example. If you look at in the 80s, in the 90s, early 2000s, being a software developer or doing, when we're doing the, Visual Basic programming, VB.NET, the programming or the software development was thought of just a very strong vertical. So there are some people, for instance, who never had a good experience in being taught programming, and it's not something they excelled at. And they said, look, me, I just want to be a network engineer. I don't want to do anything to do with development. I don't want to do any programming. Me, I just want, I don't like, development. I just want to be a network engineer. So because at that stage, we thought software development was just a vertical. But I think the trends are that some of the verticals are becoming a percentage of verticals are becoming horizontals, meaning they apply across your career. Let me give you an example. Right now, knowing Python is not just for developers. There are people who do networking, and you need to know some Python if you have to do some large scale deployment of switches and be more efficient. You need to know some kind of Python. People to do with data, database administrators or people in the data world. There was a time when we only knew T-SQL. If you knew T-SQL, you are okay. But for you to pivot to be a data scientist in that field, you need to know some Python as an example. Like you need to know some Python. So it was once seen as a vertical, but now it's a horizontal. So you need to watch those trends and be able to pivot correctly to know some of those specific skills. I'll give an example like cybersecurity. There's a time we thought cybersecurity was a vertical, but there are parts of cybersecurity which cuts across. If you're in networking, there's networking security. So you need to know about security. If you're a web developer, even though you're a developer, you need to know about web security. You need to know about the type of attacks on web applications and make sure as you code, you take that into consideration. So it's no longer just a vertical, but it's a horizontal skill that you need to have. There's a stage when cloud computing started and we thought cloud computing is just this vertical. But right now, even when you're a web developer, you need to know about cloud computing. Like you cannot be completely blank about it. So I think when we talk about the specialization versus generalization within the field, there are some, of course, that remains, the verticals still remain, but I think there's a portion of each vertical that is falling in to be, horizontal. And for you as a professional, you need to make sure you adjust quickly. So right now, everyone is learning about Python. Everyone is learning about AI, machine learning. Everyone is learning about quantum computing. You can't wait or be reluctant to learn about this, thinking, me, I'm not an AI engineer. I'm not a machine learning engineer. No, me, I'm not in quantum computing. Me, I'm just a networking engineer. As Mr. Tenesha said, no, me, I'm not going to change my career. You need to, you kind of need to pivot. All of us are pivoting to learn about AI, because even if you're an ERP guy, there's now robotic process automation, which uses some form of AI thinking, right? So you need to at least pivot to know about some of these areas. I think gone are the days where you just be in one bubble and you're not taking interest in other fields. And that is why I was saying the foundation for people going to school doing a bachelor's degree is good, because you touch all these areas. So even as you do continuous development, continuous learning, it's easy for you to maybe, go to Tech Republic or some of the other different tech sites and be able to pivot in these specific areas. So I think that's the first part in terms of what Resource demanding, it's a very interesting question, and sometimes it's country specific. So if you come to the United States, it's if you come to the United States, you find that the way the market looks at things is different. If you're in a consulting environment, it will be different compared to when you're working in a big organization, and it depends on the strategy that different organizations adopt. Some of the organizations will adopt a strategy where they outsource a lot of stuff. So when you're in that environment, the way you're going to look at resource demanding and look at which specific areas should you invest in? Are they, maybe these are regarded to be more utility-based services. So you pay someone and they do the work for you, and maybe their focus should be more on business process engineering, interfacing more with the business, the ERP, and data science and analytics. So I think it's watching those trends, and unfortunately, it's not a black or white answer. It's watching those trends and being able to pivot quickly. That's why these conversations, like what John has organized, is very good, because it gives us that insight for us to pivot easily and learn from each other. I don't know, Tanisha, if I've answered that question.
Yeah, thank you. There's some clarity there.
Okay. You sound to be unsure, but maybe you've gotten something that is going to help you a lot. I believe Tenacious is he's very focused. He's got some challenges that he's facing, and he's seeing a lot in his industry. So it's helping him just to see certain things that he thinks must be decided upon before he proceeds. There's a question from Stephen. Stephen, please just unmute and ask the question.
The doc talked about being in academia and also the out of touchness that is there between academia and also the industry. So I wanted to find out his views on how you can keep up, how people in academia who work full-time can keep up with what's happening in industry and also apply that. And also, does also research and development in terms of low participation in those areas also contribute to this out of touchness? And then also, when it comes to academia and trying to keep up, is maybe part-time academia and the full-time industry work the way to go?
Questions. I think let me start with academia versus part-time. I'll tell you that having done some work in academia for many years, started with University of Zambia, done some work with University of Nevada, Reno in the US here, and other places, and Copperfield University. What I've seen is that, I'll tell you, people in academia, they really work hard under very difficult circumstances. They do their best under very limited resources. And I think, I feel that we don't give them the credit that they deserve, especially because we are on the receiving end. But I'll tell you that they do a lot of work under a lot of constraints. Most of the times they are burdened with a lot of courses that needs to be delivered, yet there isn't a lot of people. So they do a lot of work, right? I think some of the universities, they've had very good programs where sometimes they'll get people in academia to go and do internships. Those that are willing, they'll go and do specific internships designed for professors or doctors to go and do them in industry so that they remain connected. I think that kind of helps. At the end of the day, also, it just depends on the faculty, the member. There are those that are more inclined to industry. They're more practitioner focused, so they will likely engage a lot more with industry. And then there are some who are involved more in academic theoretical research. That is also okay, right? But I should mention that for you people who are in the industry, when you get a master's, please take it upon yourself. It's not because you are going to be paid a lot of money. No, it's just contributing to, better humanity. Be of good to your institutions, to give back by being an adjunct faculty, part-time lecturer, and all that. So I think that will help. It's not 100% a solution, but I think it kind of helps. That mix helps. And most universities are willing to admit you in, provide that type of support. In terms of Zambia and the technology, I think there's a lot of work being done. I think I'll just say in Africa, I'm very excited at, a lot of young people and how they are adopting technology, how they are learning the skills, and how they are thinking across the globe. I participate in the Mandela Washington Fellowship, which draws a lot of young people from different parts of the Africa coming here. And if you just look at the work that they are doing in terms of the things that they are working on, it's marvelous, right? They are doing a lot of great work. I think the future of Africa is very promising. It's very bright. There's a lot of light at the end of the tunnel because of the lot of work that everyone is doing, Zambia inclusive. But as everything else, it requires political will, right, to provide better incentives, remove tax, for instance, on technology importation. There's a lot of work that needs to be done from a political front, but I think a lot of young people are doing a lot of great things and the future is bright. Awesome. In terms of skills development, again, as I said, it's about, what is your passion? Do you want to take the leadership pathway or the tech pathway? And sometimes there's no guarantee that if you're good on the technical pathway, Stephen, then you're going to be an excellent manager, because excellent management is soft skills, and you might not be good technically, but if you're good working with people, providing them with resources, removing the roadblocks, then the people will be able to perform very well. So I think it's about knowing what your strengths are and making sure that you invest in their strength. There are some CIOs who do not have an IT background. They've done business administration. Others have even done biology. I had one IT manager who was a brilliant IT manager, and his first degree is in biology.
Wow.
But he's very good with soft skills, managing people, organizing resources to make the teams work, motivating the teams, and engaging with the executives and other management teams. So those are interesting dynamics. It's not black and white, but there are different scenarios based on different countries. We just need to be open-minded, have a growth mindset so that we can move forward.
Thank you. But as you close, do you wake up very early in the morning, or do you work out through the night? And then just your closing remarks.
I wake up early in the morning. I'm an early riser and make sure I do most of my stuff very early in the morning before the day starts.
Excellent.
I think the thing is that everyone here is has got a bright future. I think all of us are working towards the same goal of being better professionals. And as we do continuous development and share ideas the way we are doing, we'll become better. There's a lot I've learned from here, and I hope I've been of service to share some of the ideas. And just wish everyone all the best. Reach out to me on LinkedIn in case you need any help, or if there's anything I can do for you. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you so much, Doc. Really appreciate it. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you so much, guys.